Can we talk about nihilism before we end? Because you said something in your voice note yesterday, Jacob, about Arcane's thoughts on nihilism that
Yeah,
were in.
aren't you a nihilist?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Yeah.
Why?
Because I feel like I know that there's no inherent meaning to life. I've tried existentialism, creating my own meaning. I've tried absurdism, and maybe I'm just like mentally ill or depressed or something, but it's never worked. Like absurdism is fun and it works temporarily, but I've never had the ability to permanently change how I feel, which is life has no meaning.
So, two questions in my mind stem from that. One is, surely though, at some point you've had an experience where your life has felt like it's meant something. And the second question is, then if you've come to this conclusion, you're very sure of it, like what are you supposed to then do about things? How are you then supposed to live out the rest of your life? If that's the case, what's the kind of guidebook now?
There is none. I mean, I right now, I think like we were just talking about German idealism. I think it's kind of the human duty, even if you're a nihilist, to continue life. So not necessarily reproduce yourself, but at least contribute to the community and contribute to like the expansive or constructive forces of the universe and not the destructive ones. So nihilism, a lot of people think it's like destructive. I don't think it is. I think it's just the lack of anything. It's just nothing. And in a way, that's kind of just a passive way to live life. And it's not a plan. So my answer would be there is no plan other than the moments where I kind of you're right that like there have been moments in my life where it feels meaningful, but those are fleeting and those are constantly fleeting. And I'm just tired, you know? So the plan is to just give up and like sleep in a way, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I'll let you go.
I was just going to say, then surely isn't contributing to the community in itself a meaningful experience because you're doing something that impacts other people in a significant way, in some significant way, and therefore it means something to them. Like there's meaning behind your actions. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm interested. I'm just asking questions here. Like, how do you define it as it means it has to have this overarching, almost divine, like universe level meaning behind the things we do? Or can meaning be like how you made that person feel when you interacted with them? Does that mean something, or is that something completely different? Is that just emotions? Is that just brain chemistry? Is that just hormone changes?
I would say that's just emotions. Yeah. Meaning people imbue life with meaning. So it's not that that meaning doesn't exist, but it's just subjective and an illusion. So yeah, that does certainly mean something, and that's what's definitely keeping me going. So maybe I'm not an actual nihilist, but like talking to you guys or interacting with my comments, even if they're like hate comments, I live for that, you know? So, but if you want to say like meaning kind of implies like either an end or like some purpose, kind of, at least some it doesn't have to be divine, but I guess some intrinsic, like, this is happening for a reason. And I just don't think that's the case. Like, especially when I think about the bad things that have happened in my life or the bad things that can happen. If I were to go give a homeless person like money or something and for them to go like get food, not that you shouldn't, but let's say you do that and then as they're going to get food, they walk across the street, they get hit by a bus. Like, there's nothing promising, like meaning, there's nothing promising good. And even if you think you're doing good, or even if what you think you're doing is meaningful in a certain way, it might just backfire.
I'd agree that meaning is subjective, but so if I kind of come across my view of a couple of things that I would find meaningful, one would be having a kids and kind of watching them grow and nurture them, and I'd say another one would be achievement. Is that they're not both meaningful?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Now that, I mean, I asked Joel, if I asked him if you guys have kids. You don't yet. You guys are pretty young, but I don't either, but my siblings have kids, and I guess just through that, I've been able to see how that's given their life meaning. My sister had kids like when she was 19. I mean, I'm 23 now, so it feels like it's creeping up on me, even though it's not. Like we would all like to have kids probably around 30 maybe, but it still feels like I might miss that opportunity, and that scares me a lot. Like the fact that I might just go my whole life and die and like never like it's not about reproducing myself. It's just about raising somebody and giving them the potential of a good life that I don't want to miss out on. So that's definitely meaningful. Yeah.
And what about achievement? Like,
Just
would you find
in
meaning
general.
in like the journey, like in the journey of like improving yourself and in some sort of pursuit?
I think it's dangerous to do that. There's a quote from like the movie Whiplash that like the most dangerous thing you can say to somebody is like good job. I really believe that. You can't take your achievements and just let it build your ego. You have to constantly be attacking yourself, like constantly be just like critiquing where you aren't achieving in order to achieve, basically. You obviously have to be self-aware, and when you do good, recognize that it's good so maybe can reproduce that obviously, but you don't want to just stagnate. You don't want to just say, "Yo, this is good. We're not going to make any more improvements from here." You want to constantly be moving to the next level, and that requires us, not settling, something like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with is not a particularly good thing for our ego. And me and Jill have said before that if you kind of associate yourself in hierarchies, then you are in a competence hierarchy of success in some pursuit, then you're either going to be inferior or superior to someone, both of which are bad consequences. But I do feel like there's a way of like obtaining some sort of worldly success and achievement and still keeping spiritually okay.
Well, I think I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it comes from the place at which you come from to do that thing. And what I mean by that is, if it's about you, then it's egotistical, and you're going to be stuck in that. You're either inferior or superior kind of paradigm that's not optimal for well-being or sort of your spiritual health. But if you do it from, okay, we're doing this thing to pursue truth, to pursue knowledge, to interact with people, to become better human beings, so that we can be better friends, or better partners, or better sons. That coming from that perspective, where you're doing it in the pursuit of something meaningful and bigger than ourselves or for somebody else or for our community, then I can see how that's meaningful and moves away from that kind of the dangers of individualism and ego. If you did it just because, I want X amount of followers and I want to make this amount of money and I want to feel really smart so I can say stupid smart things on the internet and people like say what they want about it or whatever, for attention, for praise, for status, then that's not good. But if it comes from this kind of a more deeper, more sort of loving, more whole approach that doesn't just focus on us as individuals, but us as a collective, and maybe, deeper ideas about truth, then you avoid that. I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna make me think for a while, probably. Yeah, I think I've probably been too selfish so far, especially with my like online pursuits. I really need. It's out of need. I need money. I need status technically to make money if I'm a content creator. So, and I look at other content creators like I don't know, the Paul brother, like Logan Paul or something, was like 2 years younger than me now when he got famous, and he got famous off of raw ego, almost this like sociopathic belief in himself, arrogance, and I've been convinced that that's the way to go. But now that you guys have kind of made me a little less nihilistic, probably.
Wow.
I mean, we're not saying that's bad. I mean, it's an interesting thing because we never really spoke to a nihilist before. I guess so. Up until now, have you kind of like had like no plan?
It's at the funniest moments.
He's always about to go into a
fucking do
really
this.
juicy point, and then his connection.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Yeah, can you see me and see me now?
I can,
Yeah.
I can, Jake, loud and clear.
So have you kind of had no plan, like up until this point, like just sort of living, like seeing where the wind takes you, and just kind of like not attributing meaning to anything?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I don't know what is gonna work. I mean, how I was raised, like I didn't have much guidance. Like my mother raised me basically single because my dad, he got in a car crash when he was younger and he never like worked. He was on welfare and he also got, I mean, not to get too personal, but like, or trauma dump or whatever, but he like was addicted to painkillers. So I didn't like have a guiding force in life. And my mom is just constantly working. So I had to figure it out on my own. And I haven't really gone anywhere.
I guess something to think about for us, Joel, is like people with like tough lives, can they really be an existentialist? Well, I mean, I guess they can and grow from the point that they were at, but I think it's a lot harder to be this positive person that thinks that there's going to be virtue and change and things like that.
Well, this is I'll finish on this point before I've got to go. 5:15. I'm sorry, boys, but there was one time I was under the influence of a substance, and I came to this realization, and the realization was, God, my problems are such privileged problems. Instead of getting annoyed about them, I should just be grateful for them. Because how amazing it is that I'm in a position that I'm worrying about shit like what I find meaningful in life, or like what fulfills me, or like how do I psychologically approach my work life or my relationships or whatever. It's like, that's such a beautiful problem to have.